I was always interested in animals for sure. Like if I look back in my school notebooks and things like that, I always wanted to be like a veterinarian or an animal keeper. I've always been on to animals, and I think it initially started because, you know, mammals are cute and fuzzy, and it kind of evolved from there. Mammals, the way they quickly evolved and moved into almost every available niche there is. You know, they can fly, they can swim, there's, you know, aquatic mammals, terrestrial mammals, arboreal mammals. There's just a huge diversity out there given the relative recent nature of their evolution. So I've always been fascinated by how mammals speciated and filled each of those niches, and I like how there's so many different questions because there's so many different kinds of mammals. I've kind of like started in like a population genetic level, and then I went to a broad scale, and now I'm kind of in between those two areas with my current research. I've moved from rodents, which has always been my background, now to bats, because that's where kind of our lab's focus has been. Just looking at how this particular species, which is the Mexican free-tailed bat or the Brazilian free-tailed bat, depending on who you talk to, they have this big genetic break in the Bahamas, and why do they have this genetic break? They're very mobile, so why can't they travel across this bank between these two banks in the Bahamas? So looking across their range, where their genetic breaks might be, and is that the only break, and why that might be. But I'm still interested in the broad overview of what's going on across the species range. I began volunteering at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh, and I volunteered in the research and mammal collections. That's when I first learned that there was such a thing as mammal collections in museums and natural history specimens. I feel it's very important, and there's so much misunderstanding about what we do that it's all hands on deck almost to try to get the knowledge out. People see cabinets of dead animals. They're like, why did you kill all these animals, you know? And I try to explain like the importance that each of these animals holds. Everything we know about animals and plants and everything like that is founded in scientific collections, because we have those things that describe diversity and describe basic, you know, taxonomy and morphology and anatomy. All that came out of museum collections. Now there's all this hidden DNA that we can access, like doing destructive sampling from skins and fluid collections. There's just a wealth of research that's hidden there, and just looking at it and seeing, oh my God, all these poor dead animals, is like, there's more to it than that. There's so many women now. There's been a big shift in mammalogy. Now, like, we have all these other women that we can look to and say, okay, I want to be like her, you know, like she's doing some really awesome science.